The winter of 2025-26 is shaping up to be a season of two halves across the United States. The north is expected to see classic cold and snowy conditions, while the south will likely experience milder, wetter weather. This sharp contrast is driven by a battleground between Arctic air and warm, moist air from the tropics, setting up an active storm track across the country. Scientists base this forecast on climate patterns, ocean temperatures, and the behavior of the jet stream and polar vortex. The polar jet stream is predicted to dip south over the northern U.S., letting frigid air spill into states from the Pacific Northwest to New England. Meanwhile, the south will be shielded from the worst cold, but can expect more rain. For Americans, your winter will depend on your location. Prepare for snow in the north and rain in the south. Let's break down the science behind this split and what it means for you. One major player this winter is a weak La Niña in the Pacific Ocean. Even though the cooling is slight, it can trigger big changes in global weather, making the atmosphere more volatile. A weak La Niña encourages a wavy jet stream, leading to dramatic temperature swings and memorable storms. For the U.S., this often means more moisture for the Pacific Northwest and Ohio Valley, colder conditions in the northern plains and Great Lakes, and warmer, wetter weather in the south. This weak La Niña is the main reason for the north-south weather divide. It helps steer the storm track and sets up the temperature contrast. But La Niña is just one piece. Other factors like the jet stream and polar vortex will shape the final outcome. Let's see how these forces interact to create this winter's unique setup. The polar jet stream, a fast-moving river of air high above, is the main architect of this winter's split. This year it's expected to dip south over the northern U.S., letting Arctic air pour into states like Montana, Minnesota, and New England. The north will see below-average temperatures and frequent snow. Meanwhile, the south will be on the warm side of the jet stream, shielded from Arctic blasts but exposed to more rain and clouds. The central U.S. becomes the battleground, where cold northern air collides with warm, moist southern air. This clash fuels storms, bringing snow, freezing rain, or just cold rain to the Midwest and Ohio Valley. Forecasting in these regions will be tricky. Residents should be ready for anything. The jet stream's path is the key to this winter's wild ride. Let's look at what happens when the Arctic really comes to visit. The polar vortex is a swirling mass of cold air over the Arctic, but sometimes it weakens and sends frigid air south. This winter's weak La Niña and wavy jet stream make the vortex more likely to wobble, unleashing Arctic blasts. When disrupted, the vortex can bring dangerously cold air to the U.S., especially the north. These cold snaps are short-lived but intense, with temperatures plunging far below zero. Even the south could see a brief, sharp chill if the vortex dips far enough. Scientists monitor the vortex for signs of disruption, but these events are hard to predict far in advance. The risk of at least one or two major Arctic outbreaks is higher than normal this winter. For the north, this could mean the coldest days of the season. Now, let's see what this means for your region. Here's what the forecast means for different regions. In the north, Pacific Northwest, Northern Rockies Plains, Great Lakes and New England, expect a colder, snowier winter, with more frequent storms and higher heating bills. The central U.S. will see wild swings, heavy snow, sleet, freezing rain, and rapid temperature changes. The south, desert Southwest, Texas, Gulf Coast, Southeast, will be milder but wetter, with above-average rainfall and occasional cold snaps. You'll need an umbrella more than a parka, but be ready for brief chills. California's outlook is uncertain. If storms dip south, rain and snow could help water supplies. If not, drought may worsen. The exact storm track will determine whether California is wet or dry. Each region faces its own challenges, so stay alert to local forecasts. The West's fate depends on how the storm track evolves. Now, let's focus on the Northeast and its famous storms. The Northeast, from the mid-Atlantic to New England, faces a high risk of nor'easters this winter. These powerful coastal storms can bring blizzards, flooding, and damaging winds. The active storm track and cold air supply create perfect conditions for nor'easters to form and intensify. The exact impact depends on each storm's track. Just offshore means blizzards for cities like Boston and New York. Inland tracks bring rain to the coast and snow inland. Both types of storms are likely this season, making precipitation forecasts tricky. Nor'easters also cause power outages and coastal flooding, so preparation is key. Residents should have emergency kits and plans for outages. The Northeast should stay alert for several impactful storms this winter. This winter's split pattern means some regions will have too much water, others too little. The North will build a deep snowpack good for water supplies, but raising flood risks if spring warms quickly. The Midwest and northern plains must watch for potential spring flooding from rapid snowmelt. Meanwhile, the southern plains and desert Southwest may see worsening drought if storms stay north. The Southeast and Gulf Coast will be wetter, but the West's fate depends on the storm track. Farmers in the Midwest may benefit from good soil moisture, while those in Texas and Oklahoma could struggle with dryness. The nation will see both flood and drought challenges, highlighting the complexity of managing water resources. This winter will show how climate patterns distribute water unevenly across the country. Meteorologists have identified 3 key windows for major cold outbreaks this winter. The first is mid-December, when the jet stream sets up and the polar vortex can send early Arctic blasts, possibly a white Christmas, but also travel headaches. The second, and often coldest, is late January to early February, when the polar vortex is weakest and severe cold snaps are most likely. This is the time for deep freezes and prolonged cold. The final window is late February into early March, when winter's last gasp can bring heavy wet snow and late-season cold. These late storms can damage early plants and cause power outages. Each window brings its own risks, so stay prepared throughout the season. Now, let's see how you can use this forecast to your advantage. This winter's dramatic forecast is a chance to get engaged with weather science and be prepared. Understanding La Niña, the jet stream, and the polar vortex turns anxiety into knowledge. Preparation is key. Check your winter gear, insulate your home, and have emergency kits ready. In the north, be ready for snow and outages. In the central U.S., prepare for all types of storms. In the south, expect rain and the occasional cold snap. You can even become a citizen scientist by tracking weather in your area and sharing reports. Staying informed